I keep my ideals so well. I don't know the lyrics. And thank you guys for coming out. This is another My Hero episode review, and I have not a lot to talk about, to be honest with you. It's just like, it's not a lot to talk about, but it's more on two very big and focused things. So, one, how exactly do I approach this at first? So, I think the first thing to approach first is like in order of stuff that happened. I want to say Dobby versus Izawa, since that's something I hold to be a humongous thing to hold in high regard. So, for those that watched the second one and then like had to leave because I said, spoilers for the next one, what I talked about is that there was going to be this moment between Dobby and Izawa where there's going to be this huge turn of events. Like, it's just like a huge shift in tone. I can't believe that it's Dobby. Like, then he's calling out to Vlad, and then he gets blasted, and it just looked amazing by itself. He just turns around, Vlad, and then explosion. It looked amazing in the manga. I was like so astounded. I was like, oh my god, I can't wait for this to be animated, because it looked so slick from Dobby's side. And it looked so, by itself, it just looked like an amazing panel, because you know that when mangaka focus on important scenes, they make it bigger. Like, that's one thing that Araki does for JoJo, and that's something that Koei does not leave out when it comes to My Hero either, because this is something that definitely, it took up a large amount of the page. Oh, well, if you're reading manga, it's 2 pages. And by itself, it connected over these 2 pages, which meant it was a very important moment, because it was just like, oh my god, what if Izawa is actually dead? Or who knows, is Izawa dead? And it's just like, hey, for everyone watching the anime, like, I don't know, well, what if Izawa is dead? Like, you don't fucking know. But how it was done is that it didn't seem like this was that important in the anime. Like, by itself, it didn't seem like that much of a big focus thing because of how the direction was taken for it. Because you have Izawa, who's just, he was lightly jogging, if anything, out into the open. He was just like, oh man, I gotta go save the students and all that. When in the manga, it's more on like, I'm like turning at every corner, I'm skirting on like with my shoes on the floor, I'm running out there, I gotta go save my students because they're in danger and I care a lot about my students. And then he kicks open the door, not literally kicks open, he's just like barges right in. And then he's like, oh man, students, where are you? And then Dobby, as slick as possible, he just looks Izawa in the side of his face. Oh, you were too slow, man. Shouldn't have been doing that. And then while Izawa was turning, just ready to scream out Vlad, like it's wanting to, like, he puts so much emphasis on the caption. It's Vlad, like he screams it out, and that's for everyone to see. But when it was done in the anime, it's just like Vlad, like that's legitimately what you hear. You hear Vlad, like, and it doesn't. I don't know what it was. The voice acting choices right there were pretty interesting, because it was meant to be such a humongous thing, but I don't know. It was cut down a lot more. This is definitely where I would see that the manga version still better in that case. Like, in that specific moment, it's definitely better. I'm gonna talk about manga versus anime a little bit later, but that's just not it for now. But yeah, the scene by itself was not made to be as dramatic as I thought it would be. I'm not gonna say I'm fully disappointed, because, well, honestly, that was one thing I was very overwhelmed. I was definitely waiting for that to happen, and it didn't come out like how I thought it was. I might sound like, man, I'm dragging the whole episode down for it, but no. It's just vocal choices can definitely affect how exactly like how a certain scene is executed. That's definitely how that goes. But then you have Deku versus Muscular. That's some fast-ass pacing. And now, guys, like, fast pacing doesn't necessarily make something good by itself. Like, obviously, there's like approaching things in a faster fashion. That's great. But in this case, Muscular in the anime is not made to be like this important villain as it was in the manga, because you have a large amount of chapters. I'm going to say a large amount personally. It was a good amount of chapters for Deku versus Muscular. And for this to just be ran by in a whole episode, it's made to look like Muscular wasn't even that important of a villain, honestly, for Deku's life, even though that's one of his biggest interactions ever, because it was a real life situation. It was his first real life situation, if we're being real, like the ones that actually mattered, because, aside from the ones where he saved by All Might, this is actually a very hugely important one, and it was just breezed past by it. And I didn't, honestly, a lot of people I was seeing it on Twitter, because you know Twitter is usually how I get my information on a lot of people, and comments in like other people's videos where they're just like, yeah, Muscular is alright, and I'm just like, no, I didn't want this. I didn't want Muscular to be alright. I wanted Muscular to be like, oh shit, that dude's kind of cool. But it's unfortunate how he's being approached to by now. It's really fucking me up, honestly. But yeah, I really did love Muscular. I honestly think he's pretty cool of a character and all that. The whole hero killer type thing going on with that's pretty cool. Moving on into the next one, the voice acting choices for the end of it, which is like another thing that this episode had an issue with. All right, so you have Kota calling out, like obviously there was the moments where he was like running through everyone. He was running through Mandalay, running the stuff through his head. He was just like how she was telling him, like, you're gonna find that one person that's going to make everything better for you and all that. And he was just slowly approaching it in his head mentally, and then he finally was able to just scream it out. And he didn't even scream it out. In the manga, you see like how the execution was done on the text. You know for sure it was yelled like, my hero, or like hero ni, like the way that, like, you know, Deku had said it. He's like hero ni. But the way, like, he put so much emphasis on it. And if I was to see that emphasis, no, even in this episode, the way that you hear Deku go about it, Jobu, Daijobu, like, the way that he went about it there, if you had that same inflection, like that same power put into Kota, it would have made the ending scene way more better. I like this is one of the things that I still like at the end of it all. I love the music and all that, but I'm definitely saying that the manga in the end of that part is still better for that. I'm not one of those people that's just like, oh, delete it, so manga versus anime, But I love both of them. The anime takes creative royalties in certain places where they're able to put more emphasis on certain stuff, obviously because it's animated, no duh. And the manga does what it can, like, and it does what it's supposed to do, and it's all hand drawn by this one guy. Well, not hand drawn, he digitally does this stuff, I'm pretty sure at this point. But yeah, that's still going about that. It's this one person, all this work and all of that, and it's amazing. But voice acting choices, like when you're supposed to be adapting something over, it's very, you have to be very careful for what you do with it. And obviously they've been doing great so far, but I think this is just one of the things where I'm just like, wow, this is pretty interesting because of how fast this episode was. How the inflections can really determine, I already said, like, the inflections determine on whether or not a scene is very monumental. And how the stuff was done here, it was very questionable on those two parts that I mentioned. That being where he screamed out "my hero," and that where he Izawa had screamed out Vlad, even though it was like, it wasn't supposed to be that huge. It's more on like that whole area, the whole Dobby versus Izawa thing. That was just extremely questionable altogether. But yeah, so the last thing, like to say. 1,000,000%. I think that this is one thing that everyone lost their mind about. This, like, wait, was he actually going 1,000,000%? I'm like, dog, this is just happening. Manga misconceptions always move into anime misconceptions, just on a wider variety now at this point, because more people usually watch the anime and stuff like that. Like, for example, with JoJo, there's been manga misconceptions, obviously. And when it's converted over, everyone realizes, they're like, oh my god, we're just gonna get the same thing. It's gonna be the revamp of it all. People have to re-explain everything that's going on. Like, for example, people have to make videos on 1,000,000% again because of people like how it has to be a fresh new topic now because people are searching for it again. They don't get it. Like, obviously, they can go back to watch the other stuff, but now that they have anime clips for it, more people are just gonna be driven towards the ones that do, and not the manga stuff, because a lot of people are anime watchers. That's something that people gotta stick with. That's how it works out, and it's totally fun to be an anime watcher. But I don't know, there's just certain areas where it's just like the manga would be better, and you would definitely, if you were to read the manga, you would definitely enjoy certain parts more than you would in the anime. But altogether, I loved the Muscular fight. It was way too fucking fast, but I did love it though. I loved Deku's energy throughout the whole thing. His voice actor is so good. He's so good. Like, by itself, it's Deku. It's legitimately Deku. This is how I feel like looking at this character and how the voice actor sounds. Just like wow, this is actually the kid. Like this is the person, and it's amazing. Especially when you have when Deku was crying out All Might, and he was crying out for his mother, but then you're the set. Like when he was getting up against Muscular, I was with him all the way. I was just like, oh my god, he's about to rock this dude's shit. It's game over for you, Muscular. You came to the wrong court. He's about to cross you up. Your ankles are annihilated. Like I was so hyped for that to coming to be, and then the ending would solidify it all. That's the thing. That's the issue that I had. I was just like, oh my god, how are you gonna cap this final moment off? And Coda, I guess. But honestly, I was thinking about this. If you were to end it off, and even if Coda said the same thing the same way, how you can totally fix that is that you add in, what is it called? It's going to add in the whole Deku screaming. That I couldn't get that out for some reason. That was so odd. But Deku screaming, that is amazing. Like if you were to add that in, like, because Deku's inflictions and all, like how he sounds in general, if you were to hear this energy output at the end of it all, and it's something that even the viewer can do, like people that are like legitimately down with that. Like for example, like how anytime I hear Rohan from JoJo, if he says Heaven's Door, I'm saying Heaven's Door, I'm saying it right behind him with him. So if you were to hear Deku scream, dog, I might scream with him. That like I'm I'm that type of fan. I give the same energy that I'm getting from the show. I'm gonna put that out into the world. I'm gonna have this going out. People are gonna hear me screaming just like Deku. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. But that's the thing. I just love it so much. But yeah, altogether, people asking me, what do you rate this episode? Fast ass pacing. What did I rated the other one like 4.2 altogether with how I was anticipating stuff like that, but it just ended up being back at like 3.8. Honestly, I'm putting that as like I'm putting the episode before 3.6. I'm putting this episode as altogether, how did I view this all? I would think a direct 4, in terms of this season. I'm not comparing it to anything that we've had previously, because I'm just like, that's how I rate stuff in general when it comes to stuff like that. This isn't rating it in terms of like all anime possible. This is rating it in terms of episodes in the season. So yeah, right here, I believe I'll be subject to change it in the future if I believe more stuff gets better on, but I'm highly believing that this one episode that I have in mind is going to end up being a dead ass 5 out of 5. But yeah, in terms of like My Hero episodes. But yeah, until then, this episode, clean 4 out of 5 in terms of My Hero, remember that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna have more episode reviews. I'm still debating on manga reviews. I'm not sure about that, if people are about it, because to title the manga stuff, you kind of have to spoil it for people that aren't up to date either way. Like even if you were to just like talk about what's at hand, talking about what's at hand is still a spoiler for people because they won't understand what's going on. So I'm debating on it. Don't want to get my people spoiled, but you know, that's how it goes in a YouTuber's life. Thank you guys so much for watching again. I don't know if I said that actually the first time. My memory's bad. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, peace out and Godspeed.